The morning studio at Lorraine was buzzing with that particular kind of electricity that only happened when a beloved celebrity was in the building. Producers hurried between cameras, stage assistants double-checked cue cards, and someone was frantically polishing the corner of the coffee table on set for reasons nobody fully understood. Lorraine Kelly herself stood near the sofa, adjusting the sleeve of her pastel blazer, chatting easily with her co-host while keeping one eye on the backstage monitor. She had interviewed everyone, politicians, comedians, musicians, royalty, but there was a special kind of warmth she reserved for guests like Eugene Levy. She adored him, or at least she had, until this morning began going strangely sideways. From the moment Eugene stepped into the studio hallway, something was off. He arrived precisely on time, never late, never rude, but he moved with a stiffness that felt foreign to the warm, gentle presence audiences adored. He nodded politely at the crew, but his smile was thin, pressed tight, a formality more than a greeting. His eyes were tired, shadowed, as though he'd fought off a long night and lost. "Good morning, Mr. Levy," a bright young assistant chirped as she handed him a cup of tea. "Thanks," he murmured, barely glancing at her. The tea trembled slightly in his grip. When he reached the green room, a makeup artist tried to lighten the mood. "You're looking handsome as ever. Just a little powder to keep you from glowing under those lights." He huffed something that might once have been a laugh. "Do your best," he replied. "I'm already glowing with dread." The makeup artist exchanged a confused look with the publicist hovering nearby. Eugene wasn't normally difficult. In fact, he was famous for his humility, his politeness, his ability to turn any awkward moment into a comedic one. But today, tension clung to him like static. Meanwhile, Lorraine was still in host mode, confident, upbeat, unaware of the storm brewing backstage. She reviewed her notes. A segment about Eugene's travel series, a discussion about aging gracefully in Hollywood, a playful question referencing a recent interview his son Dan had given. It was innocent, harmless, the kind of cheeky family tease that made audiences laugh and kept things human. She didn't suspect for a second that it would be the match that ignited the whole morning. The stage manager poked his head in. 2 minutes, folks." Eugene stepped out onto the set with that professional smile plastered on, polished, practiced, but hollow behind the eyes. The audience applauded, thrilled to see him. Lorraine stood and welcomed him onto the sofa with her usual warmth. "Eugene Levy, everyone." He gave a small wave, sat down, crossed his legs, and clasped his hands tightly. Lorraine noticed the tension but assumed he was tired or nervous or perhaps overwhelmed by the morning's schedule. Interviews could be draining, even for seasoned actors. After the applause faded, she began smoothly. "Eugene, it's so lovely to have you here. I've been watching your travel series, and you're absolutely delightful in it." He gave a clipped smile. "Thank you, it's been a unique experience. Not a joke, not even a hint of humor." Lorraine blinked but continued, filling the space with her usual ease. "You're stepping out of your comfort zone in every episode, swimming in freezing waters, eating unusual dishes. Viewers are loving this new adventurous side of you." He nodded. They seemed to. The audience chuckled lightly, expecting him to follow with a witty remark. He didn't. Lorraine offered a gentle laugh to bridge the silence. "You say you're not adventurous, and yet you keep proving yourself wrong." Eugene shifted, tugging at his cuff. "I suppose." Lorraine picked up her cue cards discreetly, glancing at the next planned question. She delivered it with her signature, soft Scottish humor. "Speaking of surprises, your son Dan recently gave an interview where he said that despite your charming on-screen persona, you're actually a bit, his words, not mine, grumpy at home. Care to comment?" The audience laughed. It was harmless. It was fun. It was typical Lorraine. But Eugene froze. His expression didn't just shift, it hardened. Slowly, deliberately, as though something inside him snapped into place. "Is that what Dan said?" His voice came out low, colder than before. Lorraine paused, sensing the shift but not understanding it. "Oh yes," she said lightly, "but he was teasing, of course." "He wasn't teasing," Eugene said sharply. "He was exaggerating, or perhaps the journalists were." The temperature on the set seemed to drop several degrees. Lorraine blinked again, her instinct telling her to tread cautiously now. "Well," she said gently, "I think he meant it in good fun. Families tease. Ours certainly does." "Yes," Eugene replied tightly, "but teasing becomes misinformation when everyone takes it seriously." The studio was silent. The audience didn't know whether to laugh or stay quiet, and so they chose the latter. Lorraine smiled in the way only a seasoned host could, calm, composed, just a touch of humor to soften the edge. I promise I'm not trying to misrepresent you. Just having a wee bit of fun. Fun, Eugene echoed. Right. Lorraine felt her own patience tremble. She leaned in just slightly, her tone still polite but sharper now. Eugene, you've built a career on using humor to talk about yourself. I assumed you could handle a light-hearted question. The green room had never felt so charged. The moment Eugene walked off set, the entire backstage machinery lurched into crisis mode. Assistants darted back and forth, whispering frantically into headsets, producers huddled like generals planning a retreat, and someone spilled an entire tray of coffee without realizing it. The air was thick with disbelief and the kind of adrenaline that made people speak in hushed, rapid-fire sentences. Eugene strode through the hallway like a man fleeing a battlefield, shoulders rigid, glasses slightly askew, his publicist scrambling behind him with the panicked energy of someone chasing a runaway train. What happened out there? She hissed as she caught up to him. Eugene, you can't just. I didn't. Just, anything, Eugene snapped, not slowing his pace. I was provoked. I responded. I left. She asked a harmless question. He stopped in the middle of the corridor so suddenly the publicist nearly collided with him. He turned, eyes sharp. It wasn't harmless to me. A nearby camera operator pretending to adjust equipment froze, pretending not to listen, but everyone was listening. Eugene blinked, jaw grinding as if trying to bite down the frustration he hadn't managed to contain on stage. Finally, he resumed walking. In the studio, Lorraine sat stiffly on the sofa while the show cut to emergency filler footage, a nature clip they usually saved for technical malfunctions. Her hands trembled slightly as the makeup artist hovered, unsure if she should intervene. Lorraine inhaled shakily and exhaled through gritted teeth. Well, she muttered, he's certainly not what I expected this morning. Her co-host slid into the seat beside her. You all right? I'm fine, she said, even though she was definitely not. I've dealt with divas before. But that, she shook her head. That was personal. Back in the green room, Eugene paced in tight circles, his shoes tapping a relentless rhythm on the tiled floor. He wasn't angry anymore. Not exactly. Something else was settling in, regret, embarrassment, fatigue, a cocktail of every emotion he hated showing in public. His hands dragged through his hair as he muttered to himself. He shouldn't have brought that up, he said. Dan was joking. People blow it out of proportion. My whole family knows I. But he stopped, because saying it out loud made him sound defensive, childish even. He slumped into a chair, shoulders sagging beneath the weight of something he hadn't admitted to anyone. A stage manager approached cautiously, like someone approaching a startled deer. Mr. Levy, Lorraine's team is, well, processing. They're not sure what to do next. The producers want to know if you'll stay for a private apology. Eugene rubbed the bridge of his nose. If I apologize now, it'll look like the show forced it out of me. The stage manager hesitated. It might also look like you care. Eugene winced at that. He did care. Too much, maybe. About his image, about his professionalism, about the fact that millions of people had just watched him behave in a way utterly unlike the man they thought he was. He stood slowly, smoothing his shirt. Where is she now? In the studio. They're regrouping for the next segment. I'll wait, he said, though his voice was strained. I won't interrupt again. Meanwhile, in the control room, producers were speaking over one another. This is trending already. Get ahead of it. Release a statement. We need to protect Lorraine. We need to protect the show. No, we need to protect both of them. Lorraine sat watching through the glass, hearing fragments, but her mind kept replaying the moment he snapped at her. She'd handled everything with grace for years, politicians losing tempers, musicians showing up hungover, actors behaving cryptically, but never had a guest accused her of unprofessionalism on air. Her cheeks still burned at the thought. When they returned from the nature clip, she spoke to the camera with a practiced smile, though her voice held a faint quiver. Sometimes live television takes unexpected turns, she said, but we're moving on with the rest of today's show. She didn't mention Eugene. She didn't need to. Everyone watching already knew. When the show finally cut to a long advertised segment, an interview with a celebrity chef, Lorraine slipped backstage. She took a small detour down the hallway, hoping to cool off before confronting anyone. But as soon as she stepped into the green room corridor, she saw Eugene sitting there alone, elbows resting on his knees, head bowed. He looked up when he heard her footsteps. Their eyes locked. The silence between them was thick, heavy, almost suffocating. Eugene stood. Lorraine, don't, she said softly, but not unkindly. Just, give me a moment. He nodded, clasping his hands together, fingers twisting nervously. She took a breath, grounding herself before meeting his gaze again. Why did you react like that? She asked, her voice level but wounded. He hesitated. It's complicated. Try me. Eugene swallowed. That interview Dan did, it wasn't meant to define me. But people keep twisting it. Reporters ask if I'm grumpy. Fans send jokes. I try to laugh along but, it gets old. It gets under my skin. He paused, voice softening. I came in tired today. I should have handled it better. Lorraine exhaled slowly. You could have simply said that. I know. His voice cracked slightly. Instead I walked out like an arrogant idiot. A tiny smile threatened at her lips despite herself. Yes, you did. He winced. And I'm sorry. Truly. You didn't deserve that. Lorraine's posture softened. She crossed her arms gently, studying him. You embarrassed me on live television. And I'm embarrassed too, he admitted. More than you know. The sincerity in his voice disarmed her. She let the anger drain from her shoulders. Eugene, she said, I've had guests push back before. It's part of the job. But I've never had one storm off.